When someone is trying to provoke you, silence becomes your greatest power. Think about it. Provokers don't actually want resolution. They don't want clarity. They want chaos. They thrive off your reaction because the moment you respond, you've given them control. You've given them the satisfaction of knowing they pulled you out of your peace. And the truth is, nothing starves a person's ego faster than being ignored when they're desperate for your attention. I'm not talking about healthy conflict, where two people sit down and communicate honestly. That's different. I'm talking about when someone pokes at you, mocks you, throws little jabs, not because they want understanding, but because they want to watch you break. That's where silence becomes strategic. Silence is not weakness, it's restraint. It's saying, I value my peace too much to let you dictate my energy. And when you refuse to play the game, you automatically win, because the game doesn't even exist without your participation. We've all been there, maybe in a workplace, where someone constantly undermines you, waiting for you to lash out so they can say, see, I told you they're unprofessional. Maybe it's a family member who knows exactly which buttons to push, hoping you'll blow up so they can point the finger back at you. Or maybe it's a stranger on the internet, hiding behind a screen, throwing out insults just to see if you'll bite. In each of those moments, silence is your shield. Because you can't be dragged into a battle, you refuse to fight. And here's the beauty of it. Karma doesn't miss. The person trying to provoke you eventually reveals themselves. Their bitterness, their insecurity, their need for attention. It always shows. People can only hide it for so long. When you stay silent, you're not just avoiding conflict. You're allowing time and karma to expose the truth. You're letting their actions speak louder than anything you could ever say. And when that moment comes, when others finally see them for who they are, your silence will echo louder than 1,000 comebacks ever could. But let me be clear. Silence doesn't mean you don't feel the sting. It doesn't mean you don't want to clap back with the perfect line. It doesn't mean you're weak. It means you're strong enough to resist the urge, strong enough to think long term instead of short term. Because reacting gives temporary relief, but silence builds permanent power. Reacting puts you on their level, but silence keeps you above it. You know what really eats away at someone who tries to provoke you. It's not when you argue with them. It's when you act like they don't exist. It's when you smile anyway, keep moving forward, and refuse to let them live rent, free in your mind. They wanted your energy, and you didn't give it. That's how you win. That's how you protect your peace and let karma do the heavy lifting. So the next time someone tries to push your buttons, remember this. Your silence is not empty. It's full of power, full of patience, full of self-control. And sooner or later, life catches up to them. You don't have to raise your voice. You don't have to prove them wrong. You just have to stay silent and trust that karma never forgets, because the loudest response you can ever give is none at all. When gossip is aimed at your reputation, silence is often the wisest response. It's natural to feel the urge to defend yourself, to run around correcting every rumor, to make sure people know the truth. But here's the reality. If someone wants to believe a lie about you, they will. No amount of explaining, no pile of evidence, no perfectly crafted words will convince a person who's committed to misunderstanding you. And the more you chase every rumor, the more energy you drain, and ironically, the more you make the lie look alive. The truth has a way of standing the test of time. Lies might be loud, but they are short-lived. They fizzle out once the people spreading them get bored, or once their motives are revealed. But when you step back and remain silent, you give space for the truth to breathe. You allow people to notice on their own that the story doesn't add up, that your actions don't align with the gossip. And when that moment comes, it's not your words that defend you. It's your character. Think about it. If someone calls you dishonest, but your track record is integrity, the lie eventually exposes itself. If someone paints you as cruel, but your life is filled with kindness. People will begin to see the cracks in the rumor. But if you try to fight back against every whisper, you look defensive, like maybe there's something to hide. Silence, on the other hand, communicates strength. It says, I know who I am, and the truth will outlive the lie. And here's where karma plays its part. The same energy people use to spread gossip eventually circles back to them. The person who gossips about you today will gossip about someone else tomorrow, and in time they'll be known not for exposing people, but for being untrustworthy. They think they're damaging your reputation, but what they're really doing is building their own. Life has a way of showing people's true colors, and you don't need to get your hands dirty trying to speed up the process. We've all seen it. Someone desperately tries to tear another person down with rumors, but years later, who do people actually remember? Not the target of the gossip, but the gossiper themselves. People don't forget who was always stirring the pot. They don't forget the source of the negativity. That's karma at work. And if you stay silent, you let karma handle what your words never could. Of course, silence isn't easy. It stings to know people are talking about you behind your back. It's hard to sit still while your name is in someone else's mouth. But every second you waste chasing gossip is a second you could have spent building your future, investing in yourself, and proving your value through action. And those actions will always speak louder than anything someone else says. The people who matter, the people who really know you, don't need convincing. They already see through the lies. And the people who choose to believe gossip without ever checking the facts, do they even deserve your explanation? At the end of the day, the ones who count will stand by you, and the ones who don't were never on your side anyway. So when gossip circles around, don't feed it with your words. Let it burn itself out. Let your life be your statement, and let karma deal with the rest. Because silence doesn't just protect your reputation. It protects your peace. When you've been betrayed by someone close, silence can feel like the hardest choice you'll ever make. The natural instinct is to demand answers, to ask how they could do this to you, to try to make sense of something that will never make sense. You want closure. You want an apology. You want them to feel the same pain they caused you. But here's the truth. Words can't fix betrayal. No explanation will undo the wound, and no argument will change who they are at their core. That's where silence becomes not just a response, but a form of self-respect. When someone close to you betrays your trust, you stand at a crossroads. You can fight, scream, and beg for accountability, or you can step back, close your mouth, and protect your dignity. Because the moment you chase answers from someone who's already shown you their true colors, you hand them your power, and the more you chase, the more you keep the wound open. Silence, on the other hand, says, I will not exhaust myself trying to fix what you chose to break. Think about it. Betrayal is never really about you. It's about the character of the person who betrayed you. Someone who lies, cheats, or breaks your trust doesn't do it because of your worth. They do it because of their weakness. And when you stay silent, you give space for that truth to reveal itself. You let their choices echo back on them without your interference. That's where karma steps in, because life has a way of circling back on those who act out of selfishness and dishonesty. We've all seen it before. Someone betrays a friend, a partner, or a teammate, thinking they've gotten away with it. But over time, their pattern catches up to them. They lose relationships. They lose respect. People learn they can't be trusted, and slowly, the very thing they took from you is taken from them. That's karma at work. And it's not your job to make it happen. It's your job to step back and let it. Silence doesn't mean you don't hurt. It doesn't mean you forgive easily, or that what they did was okay. It means you refuse to let betrayal chain you to bitterness. You're not going to spend months or years rehearsing speeches in your head about what you should have said, because you realize the only thing those words would have done is drain more of your energy. Silence allows you to redirect that energy toward healing yourself instead of trying to punish them. And let's be honest, nothing punishes a betrayer more than watching you move forward without them. They expected you to crumble. They thought your world revolved around their loyalty, but when you stay silent, focus on your growth, and let karma take its course, they're forced to face themselves. And that reality, that self-confrontation, is heavier than anything you could have shouted in the heat of the moment. Betrayal cuts deep, but silence is the stitch that closes the wound. It doesn't make you forget, but it helps you rise above the temptation to lower yourself to their level. It allows you to walk away with grace, knowing you held onto your integrity while they lost theirs. So when betrayal finds its way to your doorstep, don't waste your breath trying to make sense of it. Stay silent, step back, and trust that karma will handle what your words never could. Because the loudest closure you'll ever get is moving on in silence. Not every fight is worth fighting. And that's one of the hardest lessons to learn, because when someone comes at you with disrespect, when someone throws insults, or when someone twists your words, every part of you wants to defend yourself. You want to prove them wrong. You want to correct the story. You want to make sure people see the truth. But here's the problem. Arguing with certain people doesn't bring clarity. It just brings chaos. They're not listening to understand. They're listening to win. And when you step into that kind of arena, there is no winner, because even if you make the better point, you still lose your peace. There are people who thrive on conflict. They live for drama, and the more you engage, the more energy you give them. That's why silence becomes such a powerful response. It's not about letting them be right. It's about recognizing the fight itself isn't worth your time. You could spend hours defending yourself, but all that does is drag you down to their level. Silence, on the other hand, keeps you standing where you are. It preserves your dignity while letting karma take care of the rest. Think about it. Have you ever argued with someone and walked away feeling lighter? Probably not. You walk away feeling drained, frustrated, like you wasted time you'll never get back. And yet, the person who wanted the argument got exactly what they wanted, your attention. But when you stay silent, you rob them of that. You deny them the satisfaction of knowing they pulled you into their storm. Silence says, I'm not here to prove myself to you. I know who I am, and I don't need this battle to validate it. And that's when karma does what you can't. Because people who constantly pick fights eventually reveal themselves. Over time, others see the pattern. They notice that it's always them stirring trouble, always them caught in drama, always them pointing fingers. You don't have to say a word. Life has a way of showing who the real problem is. And the person who once tried to make you look small ends up shrinking all on their own. It's tempting to clap back, to come up with that perfect comeback that will finally shut them down. But the truth is, no words you give will ever silence someone who feeds on conflict. They'll just come back for more. The best way to silence that noise is to not give it oxygen in the first place. Your silence is not a surrender, it's a strategy. It's you choosing your peace over their chaos. It's you refusing to step down into a fight that only diminishes you. And here's the part that really matters. Silence doesn't just protect you in the moment, it protects your future. Every time you choose not to engage in a meaningless argument, you conserve energy that you can put into something that actually builds your life. Instead of wasting time going back and forth with someone who isn't interested in the truth, you can invest that same time in proving them wrong without saying a word, by succeeding, by growing, by becoming untouchable. That's the kind of answer they can never argue with. So the next time you find yourself pulled toward a battle that doesn't deserve you, pause. Ask yourself, will this fight give me peace, or will it steal it? If the answer is the latter, silence is the smarter choice, because there are some fights you win simply by not showing up. And that's when you realize the real victory isn't proving them wrong. The real victory is keeping your peace. When people underestimate you or doubt what you're capable of, silence can feel like the most uncomfortable response. You want to defend yourself. You want to speak up and list every reason why they're wrong. You want to tell them what you've done, what you're working on, what you're building, but here's the truth. Words rarely change a doubter's mind. If someone has already decided you can't do it, no speech is going to convince them otherwise. And that's exactly why silence, paired with patience, becomes your greatest weapon. There's something powerful about not trying to explain yourself. It communicates confidence. It says, I don't need to talk you into believing in me. I'll let my actions do the talking. Because the reality is, people believe results more than they believe words. You can tell someone 100 times that you're capable, but the moment they see you succeed, the moment they see the outcome, that's when doubt disappears. And when it happens, it's not because you argued them into respect, it's because life proved them wrong. Silence in the face of doubt isn't weakness, it's wisdom. It's knowing that every second you spend arguing with someone who doesn't believe in you is a second you could have spent building the very thing they doubt. It's choosing to invest your energy into progress instead of persuasion. And here's where karma comes into play. Those who doubted you will eventually have to watch you thrive. They'll be forced to confront the fact that the person they underestimated didn't just prove them wrong. You surpassed every limit they tried to place on you. We've all seen it happen. Maybe someone once told you that you weren't good enough, smart enough, talented enough. Maybe they laughed at your dreams or dismissed your ideas. And at first, their words stung. But over time, with persistence, with patience, you grew into the very person they swore you could never become. And in that moment, silence speaks louder than any defense you could have given, because the sweetest response to doubt is success. Silence also protects your peace from unnecessary pressure. When you start defending yourself against doubters, you put yourself in a position where you feel like you have to live up to their timeline, their expectations, their approval. But when you stay silent, you free yourself from all that. You're no longer performing to prove someone else wrong. You're building at your own pace, for your own reasons. And that freedom allows you to grow stronger without the distraction of needing to constantly justify yourself. And here's what doubters never see coming. The same silence they mistake for weakness is actually the calm before the storm. It's the discipline to keep your head down, to work while they mock, to prepare while they laugh, to stay focused while they doubt. And when the results finally come, the same people who once underestimated you will have no choice but to respect what they see. That's not your fight to win with words. It's karma showing them the cost of underestimating someone who refused to quit. So the next time someone doubts you, don't waste your energy explaining yourself. Don't get caught up trying to prove your worth to people who can't see it yet. Stay silent, stay focused, and let your results speak on your behalf. Because silence backed by success will always be louder than doubt. When you've already spoken your truth once, repeating yourself doesn't add power, it takes it away. We think if we just say it a little louder, or explain it one more time, or use the right words, people will finally understand us. But here's the reality. People don't have a hearing problem, they have a choice problem. If someone didn't listen the first time, chances are they're not interested in listening at all. And that's where silence becomes your strength. It's the reminder that your worth isn't found in convincing others. It's found in knowing you've already said what needed to be said. There's a point in every conversation, every disagreement, every explanation, where repeating yourself no longer clarifies. It drains you. You're not adding new information, you're just begging to be understood. And when you reach that point, silence is the smarter choice. It's saying, I've told you my truth. Whether you choose to hear it or not, that's on you. Because the more you repeat, the more it looks like you're trying to prove yourself. And the moment you look like you're pleading, you give away your power. Silence communicates something words can't. It communicates finality. It shows you're not going to twist yourself into knots to make someone see what they refuse to see. It places responsibility back where it belongs, on them, and that's where karma steps in. Because over time, People will have to confront the gap between what you said and what they chose to ignore. They'll come to realize that the truth you spoke was always there, waiting, and they were the ones who turned away from it. We've all experienced it. Maybe you tried to warn someone about a decision they were making, and they brushed you off. Maybe you opened up about how their actions hurt you, and they dismissed your feelings. Or maybe you laid your heart out on the table, hoping to be understood, and instead you were met with silence. In those moments, the temptation is to keep talking, to keep pushing, to keep trying. But the more you do, the more invisible you start to feel. The more powerless you become. And that's why silence matters, because it breaks that cycle. It says, I'm not going to keep explaining myself to someone who doesn't want to understand me. And here's the thing, when you step back, when you stop repeating yourself, people notice. They may not admit it right away, but silence has weight. Silence lingers. It forces people to sit with what you've already said without the comfort of you repeating it again and again. And often, it's in that quiet that karma begins to work. Time reveals the truth, actions reveal the reality, and suddenly, the words you spoke once, the words they ignored, come back to them with clarity, not because you forced it, but because life confirmed it. Silence is also a form of self-respect. It means you value your voice too much to waste it where it isn't heard. It means you recognize that your role is to speak the truth, not to control whether others accept it. And that shift in mindset is powerful because it frees you. You stop trying to control outcomes you can't control, and instead you focus on living in alignment with your truth. That's where your peace comes from, not from being understood, but from knowing you stood firm in what you believe. So the next time you feel the urge to repeat yourself, pause. Remember that once was enough. You've said your truth. Now let silence carry the rest, and let karma handle what words cannot.